What's up, guys? This video probably looks a little different than my normal ones, and that's because I'm at my home office rather than in the shop. And that's because I want to show you guys the cheapest possible way to learn how to drift. And that's going to be with the simulator. Now, before you click off this video, give me a chance to explain my reasoning behind that. Now, a lot of newer drifters or anybody who wants to drift, they're always asking questions about how to drift, and they're always trying to do it the cheapest way possible. I remember my first 2 years drifting, I was only able to go to one event each year because that's all the tires I could afford. Between travel, tires, and entry expenses, I mean, it was a minimum of $500 per event, and that was with a stock E36 that barely went through tires. And the key to getting better at drifting is just seat time. It's as simple as that. Seat time, seat time, seat time. The more you get, the better you're gonna be. And it's just not feasible to get enough seat time to be competitive if you're only doing one event a year, unless you plan on spending the next 10 years trying to learn how to drift. So the simple, cheap way to learn how to drift is gonna be on a simulator, and I'm gonna show you guys why. But essentially, as soon as you spend the initial investment on a simulator, which is $300 for the wheel and pedals itself, and then maybe another 100 for a setup if you need it, but there's cheaper ways to do it, which I'll go over. But that $300 initial investment gives you unlimited seat time for free. That's key. And I'm sure a lot of people will argue that, well, it's not the same. It's not the same as actually driving. It's just a simulator, blah, 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 blah. Well, it doesn't matter. The thing with the simulator that I find really helps is just making all the movements, all the motions, everything second nature. Whether that be shifting or counter steering or hand braking or left foot braking, all of that needs to come naturally. And at first, when you're in a car out on a track trying to do that, it does not come natural. It's a struggle to do some of those more complex things. So the simulator, just practicing it over and over and over, makes it second nature and makes it come natural when you do go out on the track. And that's another big thing that I hear a lot from new drifters, is that they're too scared to go to an event because they don't want to embarrass themselves. First of all, I would just say, guys, nobody's going to make fun of you if you suck at your first event. Every other drifter there is just going to be stoked to see you out there and trying and learning. But if you do want to avoid that, the simulator is going to be your best friend. Practice on a simulator, go out on the track, and you'll be linking it the first day guaranteed. There's plenty of drivers out there who had never drifted before but played a simulator, and they came out with a car for their first time and they were doing tandems and all kinds of competitive driving. So the simulator really does help, I can promise you that. So with that being said, I'm gonna go over what it takes to first set up the simulator, what it costs, what you need, and then we'll go over what game you're gonna play and everything else. So this is a Logitech G920. It's basically the cheapest setup you can get with 3 pedals, because you need a clutch for drifting. Don't even try it without. It would just be a waste of money to buy a cheaper setup that doesn't have a clutch. You will regret it. So this did cost about 300 bucks brand new. I have not looked at used prices. These were pretty new when I got mine. So obviously the wheel and pedals are number one. You have to have those. And the second most important thing I would say is a handbrake. Now this is a super cheap DIY handbrake that I made myself with a frame from a shop light and basically a regular switch that pushes up from the bottom here so that when you pull it, it pushes the switch. And that switch is soldered to a keyboard, motherboard basically. So you just take the keyboard and basically plug it in and then take a jumper wire and jumper out some of the pins until you find a combination that works as a key that you can use to key bind to the handbrake. So this handbrake is not modular. It's either on or off. There's no fluctuation in it. It's not pressure sensitive or anything like that, but it works great. They have good eBay handbrakes now that you can buy for like 50 bucks. So you plug it in and they are modular. So if you don't want to make one, you can go that route for 50 bucks. Once you have the wheel, pedals, and handbrake, obviously you're going to need a computer to run it. Or you can also use the G920 on a PlayStation or the G29 on Xbox, or vice versa, whichever way it is. But a computer's better, in my opinion. You have a lot more options for online servers and things like that. So I've got a pretty decent gaming computer. I think it's got an i5 in it and then a 1080 Ti graphics card. Nothing fantastic, but it is on the higher end. Now you can do this with a lower end computer, but the biggest hurdle you're gonna have is online servers. I started off with a pretty mediocre computer. It was basically a crap computer with a decent video card in it. And I could play solo just fine, and I could play online servers with up to like 5 to 8 people. Any more than that and it would be so laggy that it was just unplayable. So keep that in mind. But still, even if you don't have the money for a good computer, get yourself a simulator and just run solo laps. Even solo laps are going to make you a much better driver. It's definitely worth it. So after the computer, the next most important thing is having a sturdy setup. So for the first couple years, I basically just played with I made a little setup to hold the wheel and pedals. But I did not have it connected to the chair or anything like that. I just set it in front of the computer, and then I have my chair that does not have wheels, and I would just play it that way. Occasionally I would have problems with it sliding, which is always super frustrating. So eventually I decided I wanted something with a chair that attached to it so that the pedals could not move away from me, the wheel couldn't move, it's all fixed. So I bought this rig off Amazon for like 120 bucks, and this is actually a stock E36 passenger seat, so it's nice leather, it's super comfy, and it has flat rails, so it's easy to attach to a rig. And that's pretty much going to wrap it up for all of the hardware and equipment that you'll need. So let's jump on the computer and we'll show you the software. So a wireless mouse and keyboard will make your life a lot easier, though not required. I like the ones that have the built-in touchpad, so you don't need a separate mouse. Alright, so the software we're going to be using is Assetto Corsa. In my opinion, it's the best simulator for drifting. There's a lot of online servers and extra content that people have created specifically for drifting, and the mechanics and everything else in the game work really well and really correlate to driving a real car. So right now we're on the standard Assetto Corsa software. I actually use Content Manager, which I'll show you in a minute, but we're going to go over the settings here first in the regular version so that you guys can see that. And I'm just going to run through these settings really fast just so that you guys can see what I use. If you want me to go into this deeper later on, just let me know. So we're going to go into settings. If you have a lower end computer, you can come in here and lower all of your graphics to like the minimum, and that's going to help a lot. But the main thing is going to be controls. So here in the factory software, we have this configuration wizard. So that's going to let you set up your wheel and pedals and everything and get it dialed in to exactly what you want. So once you have it all dialed in, you should see down here all of your controls move and everything like that. Let's just go ahead and run through the configuration wizard. So press a button, flip the steering wheel, press a button, center it, okay. Steering wheel's 90 to the right. And by default, it shows 848. We really want it to be at 900, so I didn't quite get it right, but we can adjust that later, so we're just going to continue on. Now press all the way down, release, brake, release, clutch. So like I said, now we can come in here and adjust this to 900. Or at least close, 896 is fine. And we will save it. If you go up here to shifters, you can change stuff there. And then secondary, you can change a lot of your buttons, all your button mapping. So here we have the handbrake and it's already assigned, but we'll go ahead and do it again. So I have it assigned to the letter R. And that's basically all we need there. Here are my advanced settings. These were tricky to set up at the beginning, if I remember right. Took me a while to get the settings to where I liked them, so you might have to play around with some of these. You can try just using these settings And if those don't work for you, you can fine tune them. But you can also fine tune the force feedback amount in game per car. So keep that in mind. If one car feels like doesn't have enough force feedback, you can just turn it up in game. So now that we've got that set up, we'll go ahead and start around. I'm just going to drive local for now. This will work. What track is this? Clutch kickers. All right. So if you're new to Assetto Corsa and you've never seen any of this, once you're in game, if you scroll to the right, you have all your controls here. Like I said, here's the force feedback. You can open that up and turn the force feedback up if you want it stronger, or down, whatever you need. And turn it off again. So we're good there. Now, one thing I will say about the simulator is it doesn't typically counter steer as fast as a real car would, so you kind of have to give it a flick or throw the wheel every time you go to counter steer, or just counter steer a little faster than you normally would. But once you figure that out and get a hang and get a feeling for it, you'll do just fine. Not used to this car. I should have picked a different one, but that's okay. Alright, so you guys get the idea. Solo laps are great. Do this a whole bunch until you can link the track consistently, and once you've done that, you feel like you're ready for a bigger challenge, hop onto a server and start doing tandems. Tandems are going to make you a better driver faster than anything else. They help a lot. In my opinion, chasing is actually easier than leading, because when you're chasing, you don't have to get the right entry speed. You don't have to worry about your speed at all, basically. You just match the speed of the guy in front of you. So it takes that weight off of trying to guess the right speed and to slow down the right amount and all of that. You don't have to do any of that. You just match the guy in front of you. So tandems can help a lot. They can help you learn how to link a track. Maybe you're struggling with a track. All you need to do is go watch somebody else do it, and then you'll figure out how to do it. So hop onto some online servers ASAP and start tandeming. So we're going to do that next, but before we do, we're going to get out of the original software and go into Content Manager because it's way better. It loads everything way faster, and you can install mods a little easier through it and all that. So this is what Content Manager looks like. Notice it loaded way faster. You've got your single and your online up here. So online servers, here's the key. First off, we want to search for drift, and you want to allow servers with missing content, and that way you can see which servers have the most amount of people on them. You can see right here, this is how many drivers are currently in that server. That way you can find the servers that actually have people. You're not going to have this content from the game from the factory. You're going to have to go out and download this content. It's perfectly safe. There's tons of content available on the internet. Basically, just search drift, find a server with people in it, figure out which content you're missing and that you need to download, and then go Google it, download it, install it. There's plenty of tutorials on how to do all that, but it's pretty simple. Once you've got all the content, pick a server you want to play. Like I said, if you've got a lower end computer, you're going to want to stick to some of these that have less people in them. It's going to make your play experience a lot better. But yeah, just pick a server and jump in. Alright, now when we're in the pits, there's a few settings that are crucial for car setup that can make the world of difference for drifting. The first one going to be gearing. If you're hitting rev limiter all the time and you feel like your gears are too short for the track, you can come in here and say for second gear we can make it a little longer, which would be this way. So we could change it to 83 mile an hour in second gear, or we could lower it to 79 mile an hour if the car's bogging and won't quite spin the wheels like we want it to in second gear. And then the next thing is going to be tire pressures, super important. If you want more grip, you lower the tire pressure in the rear. If it's too much grip and you can't spin the tires, then you can air them up. On this particular car, I've found that 28 has been pretty good for me. And I also noticed that the front grip seemed really low on these cars and didn't have good steering feel when trying to add angle during transitions. So I lowered those to about 23, and that seemed to help a lot. Those are the two biggest things. You also have different tire compounds up here. Most of the time you're going to want to stick to what everybody else is using on the track, which you can actually see if you go to here. You can see their tires right there. So yeah, if you feel like you're trying to chase people and they're way faster than you, then add a little bit of grip to the car, lower your tire pressures, or bump up your compound, or do whatever you have to do to match the other cars. A lot of the servers now, it seems like, basically the default setup is what pretty much everybody uses, so there's not a huge disparity. You shouldn't have any problems. But we're going to go ahead and drive. So of course we want to follow some basic track etiquette while driving. We don't want to be crashing into people or doing ignorant stuff, or if you're really bad and spinning out a lot, then try not to be in front of somebody. It's always good to map a button on your wheel to jump you back to the pits. So in case you spin out, you can quickly jump back and the guy behind you doesn't crash into you. And we don't want to pull out onto the track if people are coming and make them crash. So that's why I have the mini map on the screen so I can see where everybody's at and make sure I'm not pulling out in front of them. Another thing is I like third person. We'll get into that after this lap, but sometimes you'll hop in a server and you'll find that nobody on the server can link the track or put down a smooth lead run for you to follow. That's just the way it is sometimes. You just got to keep trying until you find people that are good to chase with. Another good track etiquette thing is if you're chasing somebody, make sure you give them some leads so that they can chase you. Don't just chase the whole time. But back to what I was saying about third person, I find that in a real car, you have a sense of your car's size. You kind of know where the back end of the car is. So like if you're going to drag a wall, you kind of know where your bumper is going to be. But in the simulator, if you were to switch to first person point of view where you're looking out the windshield, you really can't tell where the back of your car is. You have no idea. And unless you're playing with a VR headset, you can't turn your head. You can't look out the side windows, so it's not great for drifting. Some people do the whole 3-monitor setup thing, which is fine, but to me, I like third person point of view. It doesn't need to be super realistic to me. It's just all about learning what to do with the car to place it where I want it, and you're gonna get that with third person. You're gonna learn how to left foot brake, you're gonna learn how to control your throttle, how to drift. It's all fine. So like I said, I just stick to third person and makes everything a lot simpler. So another cool thing about Content Manager is that you can host servers. So if you've got buddies, one of them can host a server, and then you can all just be in your own private server. So Michael's online, I'm going to jump in a server with him, and then we'll get some good tandems in.
Chase me. I think it's...
I was going to say, did I hit you too hard, or? Oops. So you guys get the idea. There was definitely a bunch of sloppy runs in there. It really shows that I haven't been playing enough lately. I've been so busy working on the car that I just haven't had time for the simulator. But the great thing about the simulator is you can play it whenever you want. You could literally sit down and drive 100 laps every day of the week, which in the real world with a real car paying for tires, there's no way that would ever be feasible. So the simulator is definitely a worthwhile investment. If you guys want to see more simulator content, assetto corsa, whatever it is, drop it down in the comments and let me know. I'm thinking of doing a few videos on it in the future. Let me know what you want to see. But that's going to do it for this one. We've got a couple more weeks left before the next drift event, so we're going to finish prepping the car and we'll get back to it.